genius. So tell me about working with him. It must have been extraordinary.
Yeah, it was great. He gave us the freedom to sort of explore the characters and the framework that he had laid for us, and it was just a total blast being able to kind of let yourself run with the character and work with Rick and all these guys on trying to make the right choices and have fun with it, and nothing's too important with Rick.
What does that mean?
He's not a precious human being. It's not. He doesn't hold things like precious. Nothing is precious to him. So if it is good, it's good, and it makes it in. And if it's not, it's not, and that's okay. And nothing is like this has to be here because this is that. It's like it's experiential. Life happens. It flows. Good things happen and bad things happen, and that's how life works. So it's pretty great to be able to work with somebody that has that kind of attitude.
So tell me about your characters.
I play Willoughby, who's sort of a little bit of a mysterious character. He's sort of like a Jiminy Cricket to Blake, to Blake's character, to
Blake's Jake.
To Blake's Jake. and it's all these little pieces of advice through sort of mysterious ways of telling it. He's not an on-the-nose guy, but he sort of gets there as they go along, and you find out something important about my character in the movie about 2/3 of the way through.
So tell me about you. Your character.
I play Dale Douglas, and I feel like he's just gotten out of the freshman haze, so he's been in the house long enough to watch these older guys and see kind of what they're talking about and kind of start to assimilate into that. But he's close enough to the freshmen that he realizes what they're going through and how much that can kind of be a psycho trip. And so I feel like he's a bit more friendly to them than like a McReynolds or Roper, so
I think you stole a lot of the scenes. I mean, it's kind of hard to do that because you all were you're very good and you're very funny, but you when you came in just lit up the whole scene. Tell me about how much freedom did you have to kind of develop that character? How much was it kind of you?
Well, the first script I read, Dale was a freshman, and it was a very, I didn't see him much in the script, and this was before I think this was before a callback even. I finished a general call and then was given a script to read in case I got a callback, or I was given a callback and I was just going to come in and read a few scenes. And that script, Dale was not at all what he became after I was finally cast. So some of that was Rick kind of seeing me, and he did this for all of us, because there was maybe 15, 16 guys in one of the earlier drafts of the script, but then when he got his 12, he consolidated some of the other characters and some of the other moments into 12 definitive characters. And so after he did that, we spent time out at his ranch for 3 weeks, going even further, and Rick really spent time figuring out how we created relationships with each other and would tailor moments that we were making with each other just as guys on a ranch, and he would put those moments into the script. So we all had a lot of freedom and a lot of artistic say in what our characters did. I mean, we're going from ourselves. So we were like, hey, Rick, we think this might be funny. Or Rick, we think this character would say this in this scene. And he would say, yeah, or eh. He would never say no. Mm-hmm. He would just always be like, you think that would work? But, so I mean, that's the most creative control I think an actor can get, to have a director that's not going to say no. He's always going to at least entertain the thought.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from a theater background, how is it to kind of adjust from, because I figured it's more structured when you're in the theater. Mm-hmm. How is it coming from that kind of background to a more, an environment like you were put in?
Well, I think I got lucky with this being my first film in that it was almost equally as collaborative as theater. I feel like theater is, it has to be that. You know, you have your director, your music director. If it's a musical, you know, all of the. I mean, the script is there. Obviously, you're performing words on a page that, you know, are not going to change as much as this particular process. But I feel like having to be that creative individual, you know, just as part of my schooling, you know, you're taking classes on improv and you know, you're working scripts and doing script analysis with the teacher and your students, and, you know, people are giving you feedback and you're having to change on a dime and kind of be like, oh, I see that insight, let me think this and let me go in this different direction. Like, just having that versatility with text and versatility with working with different people it was such a tool in this process, because I feel like if I wouldn't have been that, if I wouldn't have had that theatrical background, specifically the theatrical background I had, like, I was very lucky to have a collaborative program to come from. If I didn't have that, I don't think I would have been cast in the movie. I wouldn't have been into, you know.
Yeah. So I feel like it's an ensemble piece, and there are many characters, and I feel like the costume is a character, the music is a character, but I really want to talk about the clothes. I mean, some of that stuff was just so tight. I felt like I was hurting too. Some of those shorts, I'm like, how did you, you know, and you have to work like these long hours. I mean,
Yeah.
what is that like?
Nah, it was. I actually didn't mind it because it was warm most of the time. So it's like, it's short shorts and tight t-shirts and sandals. Fine by me. Couple days got really cold and wasn't fun to wear that stuff. But yeah, it's a movie. It's fun to be able to jump in and out of something that you would never normally wear.
Yeah. I have large thighs from basketball, so squeezing into, like, the short shorts I wore at the Blue Hole, the lake we were at. They got kind of, because it was cold water as well, so they just kind of shrunk right on up. And the short shorts I wear in the smoke scene with Willoughby, it's just, in that trailer, it's just my thigh is just kind of right there, and a lot of my friends are like, "Oh, Quinn, look at them thighs." I'm like, okay. So.
Them thighs are getting paid, okay? Tell them that. So tell me about the relationship with music. I mean, Linklater is so well known for having artists come in and say, put my music in your film. And you guys mentioned last night that he kind of gave you things to listen to. What was it that he gave you to kind of get you into that character?
He gave us all an iPod Nano with 50 songs on it from 1980. Not even the 80s. It was from that year, and we just listened to that on, like, repeat every night in the game room when we'd go hang out and play foosball or play ping pong or whatever we were doing. And it just kind of sunk into you. There wasn't one specific song that he'd play over and over and over again. My scene in the circle was he asked me what song I thought I'd be listening to, and I was like, well, okay, Pink Floyd, Fearless. I was like, that's what I would be listening to. And he's like, great, okay, let's try and get that. And like 2 hours later, it's like, we got the song. I was like, really? Cool, awesome. And that's the song that's in the movie. So we were able to do that specifically to the scene. I thought, which actually ended up being pretty important for me, to be able to do the things that I wanted to do in the scene. It was pretty cool that having a director that has that kind of credibility can get something like a Pink Floyd song like that. And it was you know, because they have confidence in him that he's going to be able to do their song justice. So that was really cool.
And it was a very physical movie. I mean, not just the baseball, but you guys had to, you know, really be comfortable with yourselves. I mean, not only just the clothes, but just the way that you guys move. So, tell me a little bit about that, like, because it was very physical. I mean, a lot of physical comedy, but not obvious physical comedy.
Well, I think too, it's interesting because Rick said that when we did our skills video, he was looking for a certain swagger, like a certain way that you carried yourself. So, I mean, I think Rick did, like, I mean, as far as movement and the way that we would interact physically with one another, I think he did all of that before we even stepped on set or at his ranch. You know, like, I think those you know, any physical moments that you may pick out, I think those already existed. It's just like, you get this guy with this guy with this guy, and, you know, the results will be a lot of what's happening in the movie. And then he had us, we did baseball, in the mornings, and we also had dance rehearsal for a lot of our, the country bar and for the sound machine. So, you add that vocabulary of, scooping up a grounder or, doing a little three-step turn. You just put that in what's already naturally in our body chemistry that he's looking for in those skill videos, and, it just kind of falls into place.
So you didn't already know how to do the Cotton Eye Joe?
I didn't. No, I mean, I think, but oddly enough, there were people at UT that did. Like, there was enough. It was around enough that I was like, okay, it's kind of this step, right? And then you have a choreographer that's like, this is exactly what it is. And
So what would you say this movie is in connection with Boyhood and Dazed and Confused? Because it's not like a true sequel in the traditional sense, but it does give like an era of we're coming off from something and investigating the next phase. So tell me a little bit about like what your idea was when you first heard about the film.
When I first heard about the film, I didn't know anything about it being any kind of sequel, prequel, in any type of connection with Dazed or Boyhood. I don't think, and Rick has said he hadn't really either. I think he thought that it was a point of entry into the story of being able to think about the things that he wanted to portray. Boyhood is a little bit more of that, and like I think that starting off college, and it's sort of like Blake's alter ego in a way, where that's that artist and here's the athlete, and the two can coexist, and it's like bizarro world of each other. But in the true sense of the word, it's a spiritual sequel. I hesitate to use that word because the only thing in my mind that links the two is the fact that it's an ensemble cast, and then it's a Linklater slice of life movie. But it's a very, very different story. It's a very different tale. It's very different people. But it's fun, and there's a lot of us. So.
It's kind of like an Austen story. So we have like the boyhood, childhood story growing up in that area, and then that's how I see it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I asked this last night, and I wanted to get it on camera, but there was a couple of continuous shots that were really interesting because those are so hard to do. Your actors have to be prepared and know how they have to move. Especially the one where you guys were in the locker room. I noticed that there probably wasn't a cut till like you guys go out in the field.
Yeah.
So how many takes was that, and how much preparation did you have to do for those kinds of scenes?
Well, you saw it was like four or five.
We had done all the work beforehand, so all the work that went into the technicalities of it, what we were all doing, how the camera was going to move, where it was going to go. That was all done in the weeks prior, so that when we got into that locker room, we knew exactly what we were doing, and it only took about 4 or 5 takes to really like nail it down, and then at that point it was just fine-tune adjustments by Rick in terms of I think mostly a lot of technical but it turned out great.
Yeah.
That was a really good that like it was pretty cool. Even when I watched it, I was like, oh, that really worked.
Yeah, because you each have to, there can't really be any errors.
Right.
Then you have to start all over
Yeah,
again.
it's-
Get the
it's-
cameras ready.
Yeah.
It's so great that you see that because, and
Yeah.
I noticed last night when you asked, I was like, that's an excellent question because you're thinking, because the first time I saw it, I was like, that's beautifully shot. I mean, just because I remember Shane Kelly, who's our director of photography, I remember Rick, because I mean, we, like performance-wise, again, we had run the scene so many times that we knew how that was going to work, but you're in the space and you're figuring out, okay, how's the camera dancing around this person who needs to enter frame here and all those kinds of things. So figuring out that song and dance is just, there's so much art in that. And then for someone to sit back and see, wow, yeah, that whole thing is one continuous shot, like that's awesome, and it's great to be able to talk about those kinds of things because I mean it takes a little bit of work. It takes someone like Rick to have the vision to see how it's all going to lay out. But there's no nerves going into it at all. Like he has one big continuous shot. But I don't think any of us in that whole locker room were like, oh man, like am I going to mess this up? Am I going to we knew the scene cold. It was just about figuring out who comes where and that stuff was Rick's so chill about it. So it came. Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, he's so, I think, underappreciated. And I think like the beauty of his work is that it seems so simple, but it's not. There's so much planning that goes on in his head and in life, and then when he executes it, it looks simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
So you guys are really lucky to work
Thank
with him.
you.
I do have one more question. So what's next for you guys? I feel like you're continuing to work in Austin with Austin filmmakers with the Duplass brothers, if I'm correct.
No, I know what you're talking about. That was the Duplass brothers script. Table 19 was originally the Duplass brothers, I think, developed the idea, and then it sat around for a while and kicked around, and Jeffrey Blitz picked it up, who ended up directing the film and rewriting it into a pretty different script. But it was originally a Duplass brothers script. But I don't think their names are gonna be on it. I'm not sure about that. But it's called Table 19. It's Anna Kendricks and Craig Robinson is in it, and Lisa Kudrow and Amanda Crew and Tony Revolori. It's really good. It's really it's a romantic comedy type movie. I hesitate to call it that because I don't really know if that's what they're gonna bill it as. But it's cool. We shot in Atlanta. It was really fun, really awesome to shoot. And then I did a movie called Folk Hero and the Funny Guy, which is coming out in Tribeca on the 16th of April. That I starred in along with Alex Karpovsky of Girls.
Yeah.
He was an awesome guy. And Meredith Hagner, who is the female lead in that movie, and she's the best. So yeah, I got a couple things moving out pretty soon. Be kind of a good time.
How about you?
I'm doing Dirty Dancing, the Dirty Dancing remake on ABC. I'll film that right after we finish the press tour. So
Is that like a live one of those?
it's not one of the live ones. It will be taped, but it's kind of more of a musical reimagining of the original. So the character I play wasn't in the original at all. So he's kind of this lead singer of the staff, and so there's more people singing and dancing in this one.
Okay. Well, congratulations and thank
Cool.
you so much.